I have a brand new biblical question for this week, and it is a doozy. It is so good. Do you know what a doozy is, Joe? And the reason I ask these questions is because I'm the kind of guy that always self-examine. I examine myself all the time because I've noticed over the last 29 years that it has improved my life by being honest with myself about what's happening with me. And it's so amazing. It really is. Know thyself. So that's why I ask these biblical questions, to prompt you to think, to examine, to see what you really, 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 really know. It's so amazing. So my biblical question for this week, how do you see women? How do you out in the world, how do you see women? Isn't that a good one? Yes, Jesse, that's a good one. Ellen responded to my biblical question. Thank you, Ellen. And the question is, how do you see women? How do you see women? And she says, with my eyes, LOL. Amazing. Let me go to Alex out of Miami, Florida. Would you like to respond to my biblical question?
Yeah, I actually came up with the answer, and it kind of shocked me.
Oh, good. So this is why I ask people these questions, because I want you to really pay attention to how you truly see things rather than thinking that you know how you see them. So how do you see women?
Well, I kind of put them in two categories, I realized. Like, look at, one of the things I realized that I did was I actually, instead of looking at, how I normally look at women, like checking them out, I would sort of just check their hands for, a wedding ring.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of put them in the categories of, potential girlfriends or wives, and then if they have a ring on, I just see them as, normal women.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. It
is.
If you like what you see, put a ring on it. So, were you aware that you saw them like this prior to right now?
I wasn't aware of it, no, but I guess I kind of knew it.
Yeah. That's amazing. How do you see women? That's my biblical question. It occurred to me because of the Mother's Day on Sunday. And I'm not going to tell you where I read the article yet because I'm trying to get the author of that article on the show. We're working on that. But I read an article about how women and mothers should be treated. It was very mamma mia, interesting. It was so interesting I couldn't even finish it. And I thought, it occurred to me, your biblical question should be, how do you see women? That's why I ask. All right?
I see women now as just normal. Now as just perfectly normal. I don't speak differently. I handle myself just like I do around anybody. The only people I change around is kids. But yeah, just normal, man. I used to not be that way.
How did you see them prior to waking up?
Well, you said it earlier, and it's true. Anybody who says it's not true is lying. I wanted something from them. Yeah. I wanted sex from them. I couldn't control my thoughts. They look good, they smell good, and and that's all I could see. So, I acted based on, my expectation, what I hoped to get from them.
That's right. And what happens is, because I was like that too, in that fallen state, you're living from your animal nature. And so when you see women, you just want sex, especially if they're the type of woman that traumatized you. You just want sex.
Man, for sure.
You don't care if they're smart or not, intelligent or not.
Yeah,
but once
that might be trouble, and you know it, and it don't matter.
That's right. But once you wake up and forgive your mother and wake up, you can then treat women the way you treat all people. with respect,
right.
with love. You're honest with them. You're not afraid of them. You talk to them the same way you would talk to a guy.
That's right. Absolutely right. They had a guy at church, and he said this on the stage in front of everybody. The pastor was like talking to this couple, and he asked him what he looked for in a woman, and he was like, I look for somebody just like my mama. And I was like, oh, man. You know what? I found Lydia, thank God. She is the absolute opposite of my mama. Thank God. The girl I had before her was like a mini mama. And it was a nightmare.
But the guy on the stage was right, though, but he doesn't realize it comes from a trauma. He's naturally unnatural looking for a woman just like mama, but that's not what he wants.
Interesting.
He just doesn't realize it until he get with her. It's going to become a mama and son relationship.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yep.
How do you, Ryan, see women?
The last creation that God created, created from God or from Adam's rib, created to be a helpmate. She's severely, I think she got bombed out of the house December 7th of 1941. Hasn't been home since.
What?
But
wait, come back. I missed the last part.
On December 7th, 1941, when Pearl Harbor happened, I think the woman got bombed out of the house, and I think she hasn't been home since.
What woman?
All women. They went to work, and they haven't been home since.
Oh, that's how you see women?
I think that's a problem because I don't think that was the sphere that God designed for a woman to be competing with men at work. I don't really see that was the design at all. And I think as a result, we have, since 1965, when contraception was legalized, we have 200 million American babies that aren't here due to abortion and contraception. So if you want to kill off the population, just practice birth control.
And so you believe that the bombing of Pearl Harbor blew the women out of the homes?
Yeah, I think that was a large part of it. Combined with the Kinsey report that came out in 1948, which sabotaged.
How about the feminist movement?
I think all of that came from there was there a little bit beforehand, but that really gained steam when the Kinsey report came and emasculated the man, because now men were taught that, we can have all the sex we want, and it's not for children, we don't need to be married. So then their use for the women went by the wayside. So then women got mad and became like feminists, and that's where we sit today.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your feedback on my biblical question, how do you see women? Let me go to Elizabeth, a first-time caller out of Georgia. Georgia on my mind.
So it's funny that I heard this question about is women toxic? Because I was actually having a conversation about this yesterday with, I work in a restaurant, so I'm surrounded by a lot of single mothers, a lot of men lacking manhood, and a lot of liberals. That's the way I can describe it.
That's right.
I made a passing comment because I kind of was eavesdropping, and they were speaking of the strengths of women. And one of the women is actually a single mom, and I just asked her, do you really believe a woman can raise a boy to be a man? And, it raised so many eyebrows. It was so controversial, but I do think, I do believe you cannot do that.
No.
How is a woman supposed to teach a young boy to become a man when they don't understand the biological aspect of it, and they can't explain to them what their body is going through? They can't speak to them of the changes. They can't just teach a young boy how to be a man when they're a woman, and they learn how to be a woman.
That's right. Most boys, women and men don't think alike. Boys and girls don't think alike. They have a different mentality. And women don't understand that when they're trying to raise boys. You're absolutely right.
And I think I understand this because I was raised mostly by my father. So I think I definitely have more of a logical aspect than an emotional aspect.
Yes.
And my sister, she was raised more by our mother. We have separate fathers, but she was more raised by my mother, and she is very emotional, the moment you criticize her, it's an attack. It's not a, let me think about what I've done. And I do believe as a result of that, she did start her family very young, and
Yeah.
I was 14 when I first came in contact to what motherhood looked like, and I saw the instability. I saw how harmful it could potentially be.
Yes.
And I was totally a liberal as a kid. I was raised to believe that women can be men and women should be men, and men should become the women to
Amazing.
see what it's like. I see women, feminist women, the women who go on stage and promote girl power. I listen to their message because I'm truly fascinated that so many women could believe this. So many people could believe this.
Yeah.
But it opened my eyes to see that we're taught women should be men. Women are supposed to take away the manhood and become the man, be the head of the family, be the supporter, while men are supposed to be the caretaker. And then I look at, okay, well, let's see if this is the case. Let's see how they're being taught. And you see the men are just bullied into submission, and the women are like, if you disagree with me, you're a misogynist. And
Yep.
it's so sad. It's the name calling, the emotion, the emotional arguments of, I'm going to tear you down to get what I want instead of working with you. And it really showed me, like, our biological design is so important. Men think as providers. Women think as supporters.
Yes. Amazing. Elizabeth, thank you so much. You are a wise young woman. God bless you. And that comes from being raised by your father. I'm telling you. So let's read some of the comments from my biblical question. How do you see women?
Self-centered, weak, draining, and valuable time.
Amazing.
Draining of valuable time.
Amazing. All right.
And then Laura Pitts Johnson says, women are just as important as men. God made us different, and we have different strengths and weaknesses, but we are equally loved by our Creator.
Okay.
Anthony Robinson says, as one of the great wonders that brings forth the human life through her vessel, the connection to past and present.
Interesting. And then here's some from Twitter.
Yes. Alien leg says, I try not to.
This is a guy or a lady?
A guy looks like.
He tried not to see women?
I guess so.
Amazing.
Women aren't women anymore. They are narcissistic, entitled tramps with no moral character, integrity, or accountability. MGTOW.
Oh, that explains it. All right.
Potentially Human says, if women have any effect on men, it's to make them mediocre.
Okay. Well, I didn't ask. Well, that's how he sees women. Okay, go ahead.
Kaneko Jax says, a barometer of masculine effectiveness.
Interesting. That's a barometer, buddy. A barometer of masculine.
Oh.
I understand. Black people are not expected to read, so don't worry about it. Anyway, then the last one's from YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Cool story. They're as easily subverted by Marxist socialism because of their inherent pathological, who's using these words? Altruism and native empathy.
Do not use big words, and Joey, I'll have to read, all right? Don't use white people words.
Marcelo Rodriguez says, most of the modern women I seen them as manipulative parasites, but not all.
And that word was naive. Empathy. Naive empathy.
Oh.
No worry, he's black. He's only 26. He went to public high school. Anyway, go ahead.
John Neary says, women compliment a man to make us whole or is that spelled compliment? And then Moxie Girl says the important question is, how does God see women?
Moxie Girl. Susan is a first-time caller out of Oregon. And Susan, thank you for calling. You're on the air.
So I just wanted to say about your comment about how you see women.
It's a question for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, exactly. So in that, I think that watching the lady this morning, who got pulled over, she was 50. And one of the comments that struck me was the fact that she didn't like to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And in that caused her, I imagine, rage that this man pulled her over and was trying to tell her what to do. And I think a lot of women deal with that now, and they don't understand that it comes from the fact that they've been conditioned over their life not to know their place. We were told as a woman over 52, you went through school and you had those wonderful commercials on TV. You can go to work, bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan. You could do it. You could do it all. Except in that, you're doing it all by yourself.
Yep.
And you're not allowing yourself to be comfortable in the spot that you were meant to be in as a woman. And in that, women don't understand, and they have that ego that they don't want to give that power that they think that's filling them up to the man.
Yeah.
That way he takes charge. That way she can be in her place, she can be comfortable, she can find the joy in life instead of constantly trying to go against that natural order. Because she'll never find contentment. She'll never find peace of mind. Her heart will never be content because her ego will always be in the way, always trying to fulfill that whole thing of you can do it all, you're just as good as a man.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through life trying to prove you're just as good as a man. Just find yourself and grow as a person and try and be truthful and be comfortable if you have a good man.
When you tell other women what you just told us about how you see women, how do they respond to you?
Well, I've had a few dialogues like that. A lot of women don't want to see the part they play because, especially if you've been married for a long time, and it's all great in the beginning. And then what happens is these women keep setting these men up to become weaker over time. A man can only be berated for so long before he either turns off or starts going other places,
Yeah.
And they just, I can see the comments like some of these people make, like women are succubuses or because they tend to, we're like this stunted little child, like always that little girl on the playground who's teasing and annoying, I try to spend a lot of time trying to think of some of my actions, like why I feel that way at the time or why I do it. And sometimes I just can't find the answer. It's, I don't know, medically if it's hormonal or we're just wired different, but I don't know that we see what we do or we don't. Instead of just trying to look in and look at our unhappiness or figure it out, we immediately want to poke a button or we want to do something to distract us from what we should be looking at.
Well, that's why I ask these questions, because I'm always examining myself, and I notice that as I examine myself, I start to get better in life. I can see clearer. I understand what's going on with me, and it allows me to understand what's going on around me. And it's so important that we should know ourselves. Know thyself. It's the beginning of salvation.
I was just looking at when you were saying, how do we see women?
Yes.
And I see women as the greatest gift that God made for man.
Really?
That's how I see women.
And
yes,
why do you see them that way?
Because that's the first people that we learn from is a woman. And my mother and my grandmother always told me to treat a woman like you want to be treated, or anybody, for that sense. And and I treat my wife the way I want to be treated. And I see her as my world. That's why, I feel like they're the greatest gift that God gave for man. That helps keep our sanity.
So Jesus Christ to you wasn't the greatest gift to mankind. It was the woman.
No. I don't mean it that way. I mean, if you just say man and woman, that's how I look at that. But Jesus Christ was the greatest gift that he gave to man. But while we down here living in life, you know, our companion, I feel like the woman is the greatest gift.
And you said that your wife is your world. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that, you know, without her, I just feel like my life would be missing something. And she helps complete the other things that I don't have in me.
Like what?
As far as, like, you know, like the sensitive side and more understanding on different levels and stuff. And we share things and we just go from there and just have a peaceful life.
How long you been married?
I've been married for like almost 20 years.
This your first and only marriage?
Yes, I only been married once.
You have children?
Yes, we have 3 children.
Are you the head of your wife?
Yes, I'm the head of my wife.
Okay. You know, Orlando, that's good for you, man. I wish you well.
I really appreciate that.
How do you see women?
I see women as as mothers that are caretakers, as nurturers. I guess those are a few words that I would say describe women to me.
Have you thought about this before? How do I see women?
I've been seeing the question throughout the week, but haven't taken time to really think about it.
Yeah.
How I feel, how I see women.
And now that you're taking the time, are you surprised to know that you don't really have a clear insight as to how you really see women?
I am, definitely.
Yeah. This is why I do these biblical questions, because I want people to examine themselves. I have been examining myself now for the last 29 years, and it's just been amazing what the things I have forgotten about, because we all know the truth already, is already there. And so things I'm being reminded of, and then things that I had not thought about that I thought I knew was true, and I now realize that they were never true, that I had been lied to. There's nothing more powerful than getting to know yourself.